Hey there, everyone. It's Tuesday evening. It is the 13th day of November, and this is Weather for Weather Geeks. It's our daily deep dive into the weather, past, present, and future in eastern Ohio and western PA, and a lot of times we look at other parts of the country as well. Let me actually get back to the beginning of my graphic sequence here. There we go. I want to talk about today's numbers. One thing that stands out today, no measurable snow at the Youngstown Warren Airport today. Now, I got the impression through some comments I've seen on social media and even some of my interactions out in public today that people were expecting more snow today than our forecast actually called for. If you paid attention to our forecasts yesterday, we really were downplaying the snow last night and first thing this morning, generally saying, hey, this is not impactful, it's generally an inch or less, roads should be wet. I think some people, weren't paying all that close of attention to the forecast yesterday and really only paid attention to forecasts late last week that, it looked a little more promising for some accumulating snow last night and first thing this morning. Then they kind of tuned out over the weekend and really didn't tune back in until they woke up this morning and thought, oh, where's the snow we're supposed to get? I heard 3 inches a few times today, so people were under the impression we were going to get 3 inches of snow today. That was not the forecast as of yesterday. And I was a little bit surprised that we didn't see any snow. But basically what happened last night this morning, there's a column of air in the atmosphere. Temperatures need to be within a certain threshold, a certain range, if you will, up several thousand feet in the air for the best snow growth potential. It's generally thought of as between -10 and -18 degrees Celsius. That's kind of the zone in which snow crystals can form most easily. Well, in that layer, in that zone where the air was in that temperature range, the air was too dry last night and this morning. So what we got instead was drizzle, where, it was cold enough aloft to snow, but the air was too dry in that key zone. And so what you got was just a little bit of mist and drizzle for a lot of last night and this morning. So we did not register any measurable snow at the airport today. So it wasn't a great forecast from yesterday, but it certainly was not as bad as some people thought it was. Some people thought we were waking up to 3 inches of snow this morning. That was not going to be the case. It was cold today. We only reached the mid-30s today, and everywhere where you see a blue dot on this map, it was colder than average today. We were not alone, that is for sure. Handful of stations right along the eastern seaboard, a little bit warmer than average today. Otherwise, yeah, cool was the call. We had that little mist and drizzle for a time today, but overall the radar was pretty quiet. A couple of reasons for that. One, as I show on this graphic here, we live between the Cleveland and Pittsburgh radars here in our area. And because of the curvature of the Earth, when the radar beam leaves the radar site, it climbs in altitude through the atmosphere. If the Earth were flat, it would stay the same level, but the Earth is not flat. So as the radar beam leaves the radar site and travels out with some distance, it climbs through the atmosphere. And so by the time that radar beam, whether it be from the Cleveland radar or the Pittsburgh radar, is over our area, it's several thousand feet up. So any precipitation falling from a cloud base that's significantly below that level, sometimes the radar is going to miss out on that. And we see that sometimes in the winter where we have some flurries that aren't shown on the radar. Today was that light rain and mist. It was just not real evident on the radar. The other reason for the quiet radars today, actually the Cleveland National Weather Service radar is out of commission. They had a part break in the radar, so they're hopefully overnighting that part, and the radar will be up and running and operational again tomorrow. That would be a good thing since we have kind of a messy day coming up on Thursday, and there'll be plenty of things to track on the radar by Thursday. Things are pretty quiet locally this evening. Lake effect getting going up in southwest New York, but we haven't seen too much of that in northeast Ohio and western PA yet. There could be a couple of flurries overnight tonight. It's getting cold out there. We stopped at 37 this afternoon. Temperatures in the teens and 20s in the upper Midwest, and we'll end up in the mid-20s by the end of the night here. They picked up a trace of snow in Houston, Texas today in November. Every now and then in the winter, they see some measurable snow all the way down in southeast Texas, but it's usually more in the heart of winter, not usually in November. So this cold air that's across the middle of the country definitely is being felt in many places that maybe aren't used to it this early in the season. All right, wintry weather will become a concern for many places over the next couple of days. A couple of areas of concern for ice and freezing precipitation, as well as some snow from the southern Appalachians up through the mountains of West Virginia, along the Blue Ridge Parkway in Virginia. And then heading down into the mid-Mississippi Valley, some wintry precipitation has led the Weather Service to hoist some winter weather advisories out there. Our weather will be pretty benign on Wednesday. It's just going to be cold. A little bit brighter than the last couple of days, especially in the morning. I think a veil of high clouds will start to thicken up as we go into the afternoon, but it'll be a dry Wednesday. All right, let's talk about Thursday. This is a tricky forecast for Thursday. We have precipitation heading our way. 100% chance that there will be precipitation in the area Thursday. It's just a matter of what kind of precipitation will it be. I think we're going to be right on that border between snow, sleet, freezing rain for several hours, starting around late morning, 10, 11 o'clock, and then taking us through the afternoon. It's going to be just one of those things that you're going to have to check the weather often on Thursday, because this could waffle back and forth between all these precipitation types fairly frequently throughout the day. We might even see a change over to just plain old rain in some spots, especially south of 224. And then we probably see a transition from any sort of mix of rain back over to snow for a time late Thursday night and first thing Friday morning, and maybe a little bit of drizzle out there Friday morning as well. So, you know, everything but the kitchen sink coming our way, looks like starting around midday Thursday. So here's my first stab at the impacts for travel in particular for Thursday and Friday. Not calling for huge impacts on the roads here. I think temperatures will be close to freezing for a lot of Thursday afternoon. And, you know, even if we get some technically what is freezing rain, if it's raining in 32, that can lead to a little glaze of ice maybe on your windshield and on your deck and things like that. But generally, if it's 32 and raining, roads are going to be okay, especially the main roads. So I never have the travel impacts getting all that high. As we see that transition over to snow then, late Thursday evening into Friday morning, again, not expecting huge impacts from this, but it could be a little bit slick out there. We might be looking at some snow accumulations. I'll talk about the snow after I talk about the ice here. I think the ice, the freezing rain potential will be a bigger deal east of I-79, over into central PA especially. So anybody doing some traveling on Thursday into Thursday night across I-80 over towards Franklin, Oil City, DuBois, Clearfield, Bellefonte, and then out towards Williamsport and over into the Poconos in northeast PA. Anybody going in that direction, you got to be aware of potential hazards on the roads. And if you're heading across the PA Turnpike, across the southern tier of the Keystone State, it could also be quite tricky due to a variety of wintry precipitation. That includes snow. So I think they'll see not only some ice for a time, but even some snow along the turnpike, especially across southern Pennsylvania. That could be tough around Breezewood. If you've ever been through the PA Turnpike in southern PA, that big travel plaza where every fast food joint under the sun is, that's a very frequent stop for a lot of people traveling on the PA Turnpike. That zone can be real messy with ice and then several inches of snow. I think the snow is not a real big deal around here, although I wouldn't be surprised if we got a couple of inches worth of wet snow in some spots, especially Mercer County, I think. This, again, late Thursday into Thursday night. Here's our computer model spread right now for the Youngstown Warren Airport in Vienna. You know, the RPM doesn't show much. The NAM and the Euro are up around 3 inches. I think a general 1 to 3 at this point seems fairly likely. Some places obviously will be closer to the 1. Some places might have higher odds of seeing up to 3. So we're in the real early stages of this. Check back often for detailed forecast updates as we get closer to Thursday and Thursday night. Real quick, let's fast forward to next week. A week from tomorrow is the big travel day right before Thanksgiving. Millions and millions of people hitting the airports and the roads on the day before Thanksgiving. It's traditionally one of the busiest, if not the busiest, travel day of the year. And thankfully, the weather doesn't look like it's going to be much of a big deal across the lower 48 states, including around here. Right now, most of the modeling, I'm showing you the European model, but there's pretty good agreement on all of the modeling. That high pressure will be in command of the weather. It looks chilly, but it looks largely dry. Even if there's a little precipitation somewhere in the vicinity, it does not look like it'll be any sort of big deal. So good news for holiday travelers next week. Not so good news in the longer range if you've been banking on pattern change at the end of November. You know, we've been talking about, hey, it's going to be a milder pattern right around Thanksgiving, and that might continue into the first week of December. It's looking more and more like that may be fool's gold a little bit. The medium range models have not been performing well lately. There's been a lot of busts and a lot of crazy changes in the modeling, especially, or I should say, including the European model, which tends to be more consistent and more accurate in the longer range. It's been having a hard time lately, but there's decent model agreement now that this warm-up that comes during Thanksgiving weekend is brief. And then after that, we'll get into a pattern that is chilly looking. What you've got going on here is this is Greenland up here. When you see red colors up here on this map, that means there's a blocking pattern in the northern Atlantic. And when there's blocking going on up here, a lot of times cold air gets forced out of northern Canada down into the eastern U.S. because it can't go this way. Got a lot of lines there. It can't go this way, so it's got to go this way. And that's the pattern that's starting to be advertised with more consistency on the models once we get into the period after Thanksgiving weekend. So especially around the 25th, 26th, 27th. And then, again, there's pretty good agreement here that we're going to get back into a chillier pattern compared to average at the end of November and into early December. If you remember from my winter forecast last week, I called for an average December temperature-wise. Although I did talk about how it might be warm early in the month, that may not be right. But right now I'm okay keeping the average December forecast we have out. It's only the 13th of November. We've got plenty of time to figure out December. But it's looking a little less likely that early in the month we'll have some sort of significant warmth. Thanks for watching tonight's Weather for Weather Geeks. Same time, same place, Wednesday evening. See you then.